The Conjuring Last Rites is the final movie in the Conjuring franchise. Well, at least it is for the Warrens, but there's going to be a TV show on HBO Max.
What are you talking about?
What? The TV show.
What TV show? Somebody please let me in on what's going on. What are you talking about?
They announced this TV show like 2 years ago, but we don't know anything
There's
about
no TV show.
David Zaslav sure loves milking those IPs, doesn't he? So to clarify, this is the last Conjuring movie to star Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga as the Warrens, and is supposed to be the send-off to the flagship franchise. Now, I loved the first two Conjuring films, which were directed by James Wan, but then he stepped down and they brought on a new director for the third movie, Michael Chavez. And although I appreciated that they did something different and took the Warrens away from the confines of a haunted house and gave them more of a procedural mystery to solve this time, I thought that the lack of James Wan really hurt this movie, and it was just mediocre. And honestly, I saw it coming, because what do you expect when you hire the director whose previous film was The Curse of La Llorona? And it was the first of these mainline Conjuring movies to get a rotten critic score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oops.
So you can imagine how concerned I was when I heard that the same director was going to direct the final film to this beloved franchise. So, did he fail the assignment? Or did he actually make a good movie? Well, let's find out. So the story for this movie goes back to the haunted house setting of the first two Conjuring films. There is a family that is getting haunted, and the Warrens come in and actually don't want to help them, because it just so happens that the evil entity in this movie is the first supernatural case that they took, and it scarred them and almost killed their daughter. So they ran away and never returned to the case. But now, after all these years, that entity is back and it's been waiting for them. So the Warrens reluctantly help the haunted family, whilst also dealing with their own family drama, with their daughter having a boyfriend. So let's talk about the good stuff first. First off, Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. They are great as always. They are very likable protagonists, and there is a lot of warmth to their performances. And regardless of the quality of these movies, they are instantly likable and the one constant good thing in these films. The movie also goes back to the haunted house setting, which at first I thought I wouldn't like, but given that this is the final film in the franchise, I actually like that it's ending by returning to its roots. I also liked the personal stakes involved, as you did fear for the Warrens on a more personal level, as it was not just the haunted family at risk here, but their daughter, who, speaking of which, is also starting to get clairvoyant abilities like her mother and start seeing dead people. And the actress they got to play their daughter was very good. Her boyfriend was also likable, and their interactions with the Warrens was nice too. And that's the surprising thing, quite a bit of this movie is dedicated to their family dynamics, and although I could see some people getting bored by this, I actually enjoyed it, mainly because it's nice to see how the Warrens navigate these more grounded situations, and it further humanizes them. And as for the horror itself, I found the scares to be really fun. They were much better than the scares in the third film, and the director has definitely improved here. He stays true to the Conjuring's trademark style of scares, and the way he uses dark corners of rooms and makes you question if you're seeing something or not is a lot of fun. And this movie is more in line with the horror from the first two films, and is definitely a big improvement over the third film's scares. That being said, the setups of the scares are not really all that inspired. You can so blatantly see when the movie is setting up an environment or a dark room that's going to come back later. And the first two films, which were directed by James Wan, did this too, but they were never this obvious. And as fun as the scares were, I was never scared by them. I can't say the same for my audience though. They all seem to be on the edge of their seats. But me and my brother weren't. I guess I am just used to this horror style at this point, and it didn't really take me by surprise. But with that said, the horror in this movie was a lot of fun, and I was really entertained. And despite being a horror movie, there is a good bit of humor in this film, and I thought it was really funny. And the film actually knows when to throw in a laugh and when to be serious, something I feel like less movies seem to have a handle on these days. And the jokes were very well executed and landed every single time, especially with Ed Warren and the way he is reluctantly talking to his daughter's boyfriend. Now, as for the things I didn't like, the Smurl family that is being haunted, they are so forgettable. In fact, I would actually go as far as to say they are the most forgettable family of all four Conjuring movies. I remember all of the Warrens' clients in the previous films, even the third film, but here, I just didn't care. They were very boring, none of them stood out during their horror sequences, and I just never felt for them. There was also some bad and choppy editing in this movie. There were a handful of scenes where it just felt a little off. And to make matters worse, there were parts when I was like, did we just miss a scene? Because some characters would say or react to things in a way that didn't align with what we just saw. And it felt like there was an additional scene that got cut in the editing room. And for this movie being the final case of the Warrens before they retired, it felt like it was lacking. It needed to be bigger and bolder, and the final confrontation with the demon felt like it was missing something. It needed one final attack from Ed using the Bible or something in order for it to really feel satisfying and go out with a bang. But seeing as that didn't happen, it felt a little anticlimactic. And the movie felt like it was copying quite a few scares from the first two Conjurings and repackaging them. And it made the film feel a bit lazy at times. And the film says that this demon is far worse, that it's hiding behind these 3 other ghosts. But they never show us this demon. And if they weren't going to show it to us, then they should have just made the threat these 3 ghosts, rather than promising us something worse that we never get to see. And also, the movie has great production value and lots of practical effects, but there are a couple of moments when they use some very bad CGI. You'll know what they are when you see them. And although I think the ending was good, and it was quite poignant and nice the way they send these characters off, it just wasn't great. And I think this franchise deserved a much stronger ending. So with all that said, this movie was not as good as I wanted it to be, but it wasn't as bad as I expected it to be either, given the director that was attached. So I wouldn't say this movie was just fine, but it was a notch above fine. So my score for The Conjuring Last Rites is a low 7 out of 10. James Wan really needed to come back to direct these Conjuring movies, but he left after the second film and his absence is really felt. Michael Chavez is just nowhere near the caliber of James Wan, and it absolutely baffles me that they gave him this franchise after he came off The Curse of La Llorona. They needed to hand it off to someone who was far more experienced. I personally always wish they would have given it to David Sandberg, who directed the best Conjuring spin-off film, Annabelle Creation. He would have been the perfect fit to take over. But sadly, that didn't happen. And the movie is definitely the most forgettable of the franchise, as I am already forgetting it. But that seems to be an industry-wide problem with movies this year. And on a side note, this is the first Conjuring movie that was not composed by Joseph Ashara and instead had Benjamin Wallfish. And his resume includes It Chapter 1 and 2, Annabelle Creation, Shazam, Until Dawn, Lights Out, and The Invisible Man, just to name a few. And he does a decent job. They didn't have the nice family theme from the first two Conjuring films, which really baffles me, as it should have been included in this film, but aside from that, I liked the music in this film. So yeah, if you've liked all of these Conjuring films, then I would definitely recommend giving it a watch. If like me, however, you only liked the first two and didn't think much of the third, then I am pretty sure that you will at least enjoy this fourth one. And if you've stuck with these characters for the last 12 years, then you owe it to yourself to see how it ends. Check it out and let me know what you think in the comments below, as well as which Conjuring movie is your favorite. Also, it's ironic how the final movie has the worst looking poster. I mean, everything in it looks fine, but Patrick Wilson's face so clearly looks like it was generated with AI, which is so weird because this scene is actually in the movie, so they could have just used his face. Anyway, feel free to give this video a thumbs up, as well as hit that subscribe button and the bell right next to it so you can stay up to date with all of my future videos. And also, feel free to support me over on Patreon, where you get tons of additional content, as well as gain access to my private Discord server. Thanks as always for watching, everyone, and I will catch all of you very soon. Take care.